Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be taking you through, yet again, our team's ready for the next game week. It was a big score last week. Can we match it this week? Let's find out.
Okay, so we're going to kick off into my team now. I won't be too long because I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, so I'm sure you guys don't want to hear this little muffly voice. But Areola is going to be in goal this week. Sheffield United at home, obviously, probably one of the best defensive fixtures you can pick. West Ham defensively haven't been too bad this season. And if you're looking for a cheap defender and you don't own Areola, I think one of their defenders is a good option to go for. In defence, we've got obviously Botman, who is flagged at the moment. Obviously, Eddie Howe said that he's got a bit of a knee problem after that Carabao Cup game. He didn't play in that game. I'm sure me and Ben will touch on that a little bit later on as well. Estupiñán, who's got Aston Villa away, and then obviously Kabore with the double game week of Everton away and Burnley at home. 4 points is what I'm probably expecting there. I'm not really. I don't think Luton will keep a clean sheet, but his attacking threat is also quite good. Kabore. What's your thoughts on the defence and keeper, Ben? And do you want to touch on maybe Botman and sort of the injury front for Newcastle as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting really because he didn't seem like he had an issue in the Sheffield United game. I almost feel like Eddie Howe needed an excuse to not play them this week. And when I say them, I mean Botman and Callum Wilson. So I'm sort of leaning on the fact that I think he's more likely to play than not this week. He's quite important for Newcastle anyway. So if he is fit, I think he does play. I think the rotation risk in this defence is actually more of Estupiñán, who's played his last 3 games in a row, all 90 minutes. He's played a lot of minutes recently. Villa away is a tough one from a defensive standpoint. So will he maybe rotate Estupiñán? I've got a feeling he might, but you really don't ever know with De Zerbi. And I agree with you for Kabore. His sort of point ceiling could be relatively low for a double game week player, but you know, the lowest amount of points that you should really get is 4. So you're setting off yourself in good stead there. And yeah, like you said, Areola, Sheffield United at home is a decent fixture and should be a nice 6-pointer there.
Okay, so moving on into midfield then. Salah with Tottenham away. Obviously, Liverpool scoring goals, Tottenham scoring goals. I'm expecting a good game there, similar to the North London derby, I think, that we saw at the weekend, of both teams sort of, going for it in that respect. Sterling, Fulham away. Still on the cards, whether he's in or out of the team this week. I do have 2 free transfers to use. Likewise with Eze, with United away. I've remained patient with Eze from the start of the season, and he's only produced 1 attack and return so far this season, despite being the player who's got the most underperformance in terms of his expected data to his actual data, which is really frustrating. But it was worth keeping hold of, in my opinion, just to see out that good fixture run. And then Bruno Fernandes, Palace at home. Obviously, United won quite comfortably in the cup. Both sides were rotated, though. So it'll be interesting to see if the first teams can sort of change that. And Bukayo Saka, obviously, flagged as well. There's a lot of flags going around. I'm sure Ben will show you a lot more than I will. But yeah, Saka flagged. Obviously, he hasn't, from the time of recording this on Thursday, he hasn't trained with the first team, is what we've heard. We'll hear more tomorrow in the press conference. My thoughts at the moment is that if he is injured, that I will remove him, just because it's Bournemouth away, which we'll miss this week, which is a good fixture. He then faces Manchester City as well after that. And obviously, a lot of people are looking towards wildcard in game week 8 to 9. Obviously, you will lose maybe a 0.1 in the value in regards to that. But I'm happy to take the hit on that with the potential upside that I can bring in with 2 new midfielders in this week. So between Sterling, Eze and Saka, 2 of them will leave my team this week. Ben, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if 2 of them are going to leave this week, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Like, it was pretty well set up last week to go, and they just didn't really perform to the maximum, or like I said, Saka potentially injured. So if you're looking to wildcard the next couple of game weeks and Saka is only out for a couple of weeks, it's almost like the perfect time just to jump off him, make the most of the transfer value that you got in your team there. But for now, I think Eze and Sterling is probably the priority transfer out in terms of if you're looking at anyone, and if you're looking at Saka as an injury-free asset. But like I said, you just don't know this sort of thing. We should have some more information, hopefully today, when this video comes out. But yeah, I think Salah is a decent option. A lot of managers are looking towards going with him on a wild card. So in terms of actually a wild card team, you'd probably look pretty set for what you've got right now, but of course that can quite easily change with a couple of injuries here with Saka and if you're transferring out maybe a couple of these other midfielders.
Okay, so to wrap up the team then, up top, we've got Alvarez and Haaland on the captaincy. Obviously, a lot of people think about Carlton Morris this week with the double game week. For me, if you've got him, I'd just play him. I wouldn't look to captain him personally just because of how poor Luton have been. I don't really see him potentially outscoring Haaland, although saying that, Haaland has missed a whole load of chances so far to start this season off. Obviously, Alvarez, a lot of people worried about minutes with him. I think he should be okay. Obviously, got taken off early against Forest at the weekend due to the red card with Rodri, and then was substituted early against Newcastle as well, with, I think, this weekend's fixture in mind. So overall, pretty happy with them both. Obviously, Alvarez, I had him when he was scoring points. I think he probably would have scored points if he was allowed to stay on the pitch as well against Forest. Sorry, so 0.5 xG in the first half alone in that game, which is really high and almost unlike him not to return with that sort of attacking data. And then on the bench as well, Onana, Crystal Palace at home. I don't even think that's a bad fixture either. I think Palace are struggling to score goals. Even against United on Tuesday night, they were playing some of their first team players. And they just didn't really look up for it, weren't creating chances. I don't think they had a shot until the 65th minute in that game. Colwill, Fulham away, could easily play him ahead of Estupiñán if Estupiñán is not going to be in the side. So a pretty decent first sub there. Doji, obviously, it's the last of the bad games for him. He'll come straight back into the team next week when Spurs face Luton. And then Mubama, obviously, just makes the numbers on the bench. What's the thoughts on the bench and the attack then?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it looks like you're going to have a lot more depth this week than a lot of FPL managers. And with your 2 free transfers, puts you in a really good position there to sort of make some decent moves. Like I said, you've got a couple of players flagged. It's not too bad. You've got a strong bench as well. Like you said, Crystal Palace shouldn't attack too much at the weekend. I think the game plan that they came to Old Trafford with in the Carabao Cup, they're going to try and replicate and improve on that strategy in the Premier League. I don't think they're going to come out and sort of try and attack United. It just doesn't make sense for them to do that based on how they played in midweek. And like I said, yeah, Colwill could be an easy one to sort of sub in if needed. I even think Adoji could be a decent pick to play this week just because of how attacking this potential Spurs team could be. You'd probably not guaranteed the clean sheet there, but there is that attacking potential and you can afford to go as deep as your second bench should those yellow flags sort of hinder you for the game week. So it's a very strong bench. Obviously, there's some degree of risk with benching Onana with his ownership levels, but I think it's negated by the fact that Areola has such a good fixture this week. Okay, so moving on into my team. And as you can see, I've in fact started Onana this week. Crystal Palace at home. I've got obviously Turner on the bench. As I have done since really the start of the season. Onana, Palace at home, I think it's a great fixture. I think United should be keeping a clean sheet against them. Like I alluded to earlier, the strategy won't change with Palace in the way that they go out and play against Manchester United this weekend. I do think it's going to be low blocks and they're going to try and frustrate and sort of keep sort of everything congested in the middle. I think Onana could be good, hopefully, for a clean sheet again this week. Quite happy with Ruben Dias in defence. He got a rest in midweek. Manchester City should again be keeping a clean sheet. This has not been something that we said all of this season. They haven't kept too many so far, but I do think with his rest in midweek in the Carabao Cup and with the fact that playing Wolves, who traditionally haven't been too great in attack, yes, they've been a lot better this season than they have in previous years, but I think Manchester City are just going to be too strong for them. Best opinion, I touched on it earlier. I think there's a bit more of a rotation risk there than Botman. I'm pretty certain and confident that Botman starts this week. I'm less sure on Estepinian. Josh, a couple of the same players, but what do you think of the defence?
Yeah, like we said, I think the Onana fixture defensively for United, I know they've been poor, but I think that is a solid game, and I think I would start him if I didn't have that choice of Areola against Sheffield United. United have got a few players back from injury as well, like Varane, Mason Mount, Amrabat. He looked really good in the Carabao Cup. I'd be shocked to not see him start against Palace at the weekend. So he's a good shout. Ruben Dias, obviously, City's defence has been quite frustrating for owners the last few weeks, just conceding that odd goal that we've seen time and time again towards last season. So Wolves away, though, I would be shocked to see Man City concede to them.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield, and as you can see, just from the defence and midfield alone, I've got more yellow flags than Josh's entire team. We've got the double up still of the Manchester United midfielders, which I've been slated for a lot and with good cause and good reason to. But I do think the fixtures are good enough for a hold, and again, suitable replacements. I'm struggling to see there's a few that have started off the season really well that have sort of fallen away a bit, become a rotation risk, etc. So I do think Manchester United midfield, it's not a sell, but it's also not a buy for this week. In my opinion, I think Bruno and Rashford could do some good work this week. Manchester United hopefully turning a corner with their great Carabao Cup performance, albeit it was against their they were playing a second team, really. Bukayo Saka, I'm a little bit worried about. Obviously, we seen he hasn't trained. We got a little bit more information than we got about the Botman injury, and it doesn't look too good at the moment. I'm not sure what I'd do in terms of transfers yet. It's all going to be dependent on the injury news as well. If Saka's injured for a few weeks, it probably is an easy transfer out, but there are a couple of other fires to potentially put out. I don't think one of them is James Maddison, though. I think if Maddison is even remotely fit, he will be playing. He is very, very crucial to that Tottenham team and very crucial to their creativity. And if Maddison doesn't play, Son's output really does decrease quite a lot due to how much influence Maddison has in attack. So I'm quite happy to start him this week. I do think he's going to start. There's been some positive stuff coming out in the press about James Maddison's injury. It's not as bad as first feared, and Ange Postecoglou is confident that Maddison will play this weekend. Mitoma to round off the midfield. Aston Villa away. He played sort of 45 minutes last weekend and backed a couple of goals and played 64 in midweek in the Carabao Cup. So I do think he's in line for a start again. Last weekend just goes to show how important Mitoma still is to this Brighton team. Despite them having so many good new signings going forwards, I think Mitoma is crucial to their creativity and attacking output. So Josh, that's the midfield. What are the thoughts? There's a couple of injury concerns in there. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, I think Maddison should be okay for this weekend. And if he is fit, he will play. Saka, obviously, we touched on it when I had him. It's going to be a touch and go one there. I think for owners, it's a difficult situation to be in, to be honest, because a lot of people who have had him since the start would have built up value in him and will probably want him after game week 9 and on. So it is a tough one. I don't know if I would sell him personally. It's one of those. It's like 0.1 million that you're potentially losing there. And I think he might go down in price potentially if he is confirmed to be injured before the deadline. So it should be an interesting one to watch. Mitoma, like you said, just shows what he can do. I think if you've got Brighton players like Mitoma, I think they are worth keeping even in the difficult run because Brighton do score a lot of goals. And the same with the United guys. I think the fixtures go forward, even Brentford at home. Brentford have been quite poor recently, especially defensively. So I think there are some good fixtures coming up for that midfield, and there should be some points on the board soon.
Okay, and moving on to the strike force and the bench, we are retaining Haaland and Alvarez. I don't think I'll be making the move to someone like Carlton Morris or even to any double game week player for that fact. I just don't see the appeal in it at the moment. It's not a great double game week to get into, and I think that there's points potentially on the board for the Luton boys, but I'm not confident in going with Carlton Morris over Julian Alvarez. Again, he had both had more of a rest midweek than they usually would. Haaland didn't play any minutes. Alvarez had 70 minutes ish in the Carabao Cup. And then the bench is where it gets a bit more flaggy. Turner, obviously, in goal. Chilwell, it doesn't look good for him. A hamstring injury potentially could be, again, a few weeks out. So Bulldog gone down in price as well. Definitely injured as well for this weekend. So it's not ideal at all. The transfer plans are going to be difficult because there's so many flagged players. My probably priority transfer out is Ben Chilwell right now. And even if I get someone in who's got not a bad fixture this week, maybe someone like Doji, who's got decent fixtures after, or if I go for someone like Matty Cash, who's got great fixtures past this game week, it's a tough one to sort of decide on what to do. And again, this is why I'm saying I'm waiting for the injury news and details on sort of potential injuries in my FPL team, because obviously I'm going to get so much more information in the Friday press conferences, and then I can make an informed decision. Josh, what the thoughts strike force bench and the overall sort of potential plan for this week?
Yeah, you just got to try and hope that everyone that is flagged sort of comes back. I think Chilwell's probably the worst one out of the lot in terms of that hamstring injury. He's also not really first choice. The fact that he's still starting a Carabao Cup game is not really good news for him, considering that he should be getting his minutes managed anyway. So yeah, he would be probably one of my priority transfers, like you say, down to a Doge. He's not even a bad move. even potentially up to Trippier. Obviously, we saw what he can do compared to those Newcastle defenders at the weekend. So I think that would be my number one move, and then sort of just reassess with that Bukayo Saka injury as well, because obviously you don't have anyone else on that bench who's going to get any minutes at all. Okay, so that is our team selection for game week 7. Let us know what you would do in our positions. Obviously, both 2 free transfers. It's going to be a difficult week. Obviously, if you want to know the latest news in terms of the press conferences, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, where we usually update you guys over there.
And as always, remember to like, follow, and subscribe. I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.